Let's just imagine that you're sitting under a tree in the middle of nowhere, just listening to the river, the distance, the leaves and the wind. And you know you are miles away from anybody. I mean, miles away. But somehow, you're constrained. You're constrained within what we call political borders. Well, let's just for a moment imagine there weren't any. I mean, where do they come from? I mean, just look at this. How on earth does this make any sense to anyone? I mean, walking about on the ground, or like elephants or giraffes or any kind of animal just walking about. Doesn't make any sense at all. Let's just imagine that there weren't any of these boundaries. Let's just imagine that Africa, the entire continent of Africa, was just like a garden. Imagine that. Garden. A beautiful, huge garden. Like a an international, or global heritage for our children and our children's children. That's beautiful. But we're going to have to turn our ideas on their heads if we're going to consider such an idea. I mean, let's just imagine that Africans managed to get together sufficiently to confront their own governments. Yeah, no, that's kind of tricky. They may require assistance for that, but they are dictating to us what assistance they need. And imagine if they managed that. Now, what would you pay? What would your children pay to go and visit such a beautiful place? See animals that you cannot find anywhere else on the planet. To live for a few weeks, maybe a few months, if only for a few years. Learning the culture, how to interact and socially be relaxed. Imagine that. Well, let's think about something that doesn't respect political boundaries. Water. Water doesn't respect political boundaries, and we know in the future water is going to be a big political point. I don't think we're going to work it out in the West. But let's just imagine that the Africans have. They worked it out. I mean, they're living ecologically, sustainably, kind of happily. And with, reasonable levels of technology. But maybe they just don't live in cities, They just, they don't have industries like we do. Because they just don't allow it. They don't want to spoil the garden after all. But they can import, wireless technologies and local sources of power. So they're having a really good time in Africa. And maybe they're going to be able to teach us how to live sustainably. Let's see. Well, consider this. Do they need a military? Well, what happens if we protected their boundaries? What happens if we policed their waters? Why would we want to do that? Well, to prevent our influence. I mean, we don't want to allow weapons in there if we're going to visit the place, if they allow us to visit. And we don't really want them to destroy that environment with industry. So, if we protect their boundaries, their border, And if they've become one huge kind of, well, it's not really a nation, it's not really a, well, I don't know, continent. Is it a superpower? I don't really know what to call it, but if they presented themselves at the UN, for example, as one country, if they managed to live sustainably and ecologically, and people are willing to pay, oh yeah, they will, to go and visit and to experience their cultures and to take advantage of the environment and, I don't know, do some extreme sports, I don't know. But I think people would pay for that. And that would sustain them, I think. Well, if this is going to happen at some time in the future, and if you look in the right direction, well, it's going to happen. Well then, from this perspective, we've got to say that Africa leads.